Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're uncorking a really fascinating scientific study that takes us on a journey into the world of sparkling wine. We're going to explore how science is helping to uncover the next great terroirs and grapes for the bubbly we all love. You know, with the whole world wanting more and more sparkling wine, the search is really on for new regions that can produce world-class bubbly. So could a country with ancient winemaking roots, but not a lot of fame for fizz, hold the key? Well, a recent study set out to find that exact answer. Let's dive in. All right, so in this explainer, we're going to follow the whole story of this discovery. We'll start with the native grapes right in the vineyard, walk through the pretty intricate winemaking process, then jump into the lab for chemical breakdown, and finally get to the ultimate verdict in the glass. Okay, so our journey begins in Romania's Dealu Mare region. Now, while it's one of the country's most important spots for growing wine, it's not really known for making sparkling wine, but researchers saw something special here. They saw the potential for greatness. The scientists didn't go for the usual suspects, like Chardonnay or Pinot Noir. Nope. Instead, they focused on 3 native Romanian grapes, each with a long history in the region, to see if they had what it takes to produce a really high-quality, traditional method sparkling wine. So let's meet them. So each of these grapes brings a totally unique personality to the bottle. You got Fatasca regala. That's your backbone, with the high acidity you need for structure and aging. Then there's Thamoiasa romanosca, the real showstopper, famous for its intense floral smells. And finally, Fatasca alba, which is all about that fresh, delicate fruit. So the big question is, can these different personalities actually work together to create a beautiful, harmonious sparkle? Now, to really test the potential of these grapes, the researchers used the absolute gold standard for creating premium sparkling wine, the traditional method. Yep, the very same one they use in champagne. This is not the easy way, not by a long shot, but it's how you get real complexity and elegance. So how's it work? Well, after you make a regular still wine, you add a little bit of yeast and sugar right before sealing it up in a bottle. Then the yeast gets to work, and just like it makes bread rise, it creates carbon dioxide. But here, that CO2 has nowhere to go, so it just dissolves right into the wine, creating those beautiful, fine, long-lasting bubbles we're all looking for. It's a super meticulous, multi-step process, but the real magic, the secret sauce for flavor, happens in step 4, lees aging. This is where the wine just sits and rests on those expired yeast cells, and they slowly break down and release all these compounds that add incredible layers of flavor. Think toast, brioche, nuts. The researchers really wanted to know just how much magic this one step could create. So they set up this really cool comparison. They took wines from each of the 3 grapes and split them into 2 batches. One batch was aged for the standard 9 months on the lees, but the other one, it was left for a full 36 months. That's 3 years, just to see how that extra time would completely transform the wine. Okay, now let's look at what they found. After that long wait, it was finally time for the lab coats to come on. The scientists ran a full chemical analysis on all the wines to get a really objective molecular level picture of exactly what had changed in that bottle during those 9 and 36 months. And the very first result was fantastic news. Across all the different grapes and aging times, the wine showed consistently high acidity, averaging around 6.3 grams per liter. Now, why does this matter so much? Well, acidity is the structural backbone of sparkling wine. It gives it that crisp, refreshing quality, and it's absolutely essential for a wine to age well. So this was a huge checkmark for the potential of these Romanian grapes. Acidity is great, for sure, but aroma is what makes a wine truly captivating. So the chemical analysis zeroed in on what are called volatile compounds. These are the tiny molecules that actually evaporate from the glass and create the smells we perceive. And specifically, they looked at esters, which are responsible for pretty much all of those wonderful fruity and floral notes. And wow, this chart just brilliantly illustrates what they found. Just look at this for Fatasca regala. The amount of ethyl acetate, that's an ester that gives you smells of pear and pineapple, it jumped from about 60 milligrams per liter in the 9-month wine to over 88 in the 36-month wine. And this isn't just some abstract number. It's a chemical signature for a wine that has become way more aromatic and fruity with time. This is literally chemistry you can smell and taste. Of course, all the chemistry in the world doesn't mean a thing if the wine doesn't taste good, right? So for the final and most important test, the researchers brought in a panel of 20 trained sensory experts to taste all the wines blind and give their professional verdict.
This key quote from the study just perfectly sums up what the experts found. So let's break that down. Complex tertiary aromas, that's the fancy way of saying those savory, toasty, nutty notes you get from long aging. But, and this is crucial, the aging didn't erase the wine's original character. It preserved the intrinsic floral and fruity attributes from the grapes themselves. The result? A much more layered and interesting wine.
This table really visualizes that trade-off you get during aging. The younger 9-month wines, they were just bursting with fresh primary fruit notes like apple and peach. In contrast, the older 36-month wines were less about that initial fruit bomb and way more about the deep, complex flavors of yeast and toast, flavors that only come from that extended contact with the lees. It shows how aging transformed the wine from something bright and simple into something rich and profound.
So, after this entire scientific journey, from the vineyard to the lab and all the way to the tasting panel, what's the final takeaway? What did we learn about these Romanian grapes and their potential to sparkle on the world stage?
So what's the big takeaway? The study proved that these native Romanian grapes aren't just suitable, they've got the whole package. They start with that essential high acidity for freshness, they have unique aromas, and most importantly, they transform with extended aging, developing the kind of complexity that separates a good sparkling wine from a great one. This officially puts the Dalu Mare region on the map as a new frontier for high-quality bubbly. You know, a study like this is a powerful reminder that the world of wine is just vast and full of surprises. And while we all love the classics, this research from Romania proves that incredible quality and unique character can be found in the most unexpected places. All we have to do is look. It really leaves you wondering, doesn't it? What else is out there just waiting to be uncorked?